And welcome to another week of Upon Further Review. I'm Josh Aubrey. In just a moment, Frank Sulkowski from WJCL will join us to talk a little bit about Eagles football, and then he'll also join us later in the show to talk about our area high school matchups. Of course, we'll also be hearing from Tyson Summers and some of the players from Georgia Southern. They're coming off a bye week. Of course, a couple weeks ago, they lost to FCS member New Hampshire on the road in Birmingham. This week, the Eagles on the road at Indiana to take on the Hoosiers, the first ever meeting between these two schools. We'll also be hearing from our area high school football coaches, everybody at home. Portal hosting Wheeler County, Statesboro at homecoming taking on Appling County. Southeast Bulloch opens up region play coming off a bye week as they host Jenkins High School from Savannah, and Bulloch Academy also coming off a bye week as they host Robert Toombs. We'll hear from Frank in just a moment. Before that, I'd like to remind you, for any legal advice you may have in the Statesboro Bulloch County area, we have the man for you to call. Lovett Bennett Jr., attorney at law PC, Lovett's office located in downtown Statesboro. And joining me once again, the big guy from WJCL Television in Savannah, Frank Sulkowski. And Frank, it's finally game week. It's finally time for Georgia Southern to be able to get back out on the football field and hopefully show the fans and everyone else that New Hampshire game was an aberration, and maybe that's not what they're all about. And it's going to be tough. They're playing Indiana. They're a 21-point underdog. Your thoughts on where the Eagles are right now? And we had a chance to hear from Tyson Summers and some of the players, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But it sounds like they're optimistic as they go into Indiana. I don't expect that I wouldn't imagine you'd expect them to say, oh yeah, things are terrible and we're planning to lose.
Well, no, you're never going to hear them say they're going up there planning to lose. Again, a tough game, and we talked about this. If there was ever a season that Georgia Southern really needed a Savannah State type game, and I don't mean to take anything away from Savannah State, it's just we've seen what kind of success the Eagles have had against that squad. These young guys, and again, we've talked about how young Georgia Southern is, they need to feel like they can compete and win. And they need to be ahead. They need to run the ball efficiently. They need to score touchdowns on offense. They need to come up with turnovers on defense. All those things, if you can put those together and you put together a good game, win or lose, you're going to feel a lot better about where you are. The problem is we haven't put all those things together in the first two games of the season, and so it leaves this giant pit in your stomach. What team is going to show up? Oh, well, we're going to Indiana. Are we going to see what we saw against Auburn? Or are we going to see the lack of offense like we saw or the no fire in the first half against New Hampshire? We just don't know with this squad yet. And I think that's part of what makes things so tough. We don't know what Georgia Southern is going to look like when they go to Indiana. I like to hope that we start seeing something like they looked in the passion they had at the last game of last year against Troy, where, there was a lot of emotion out there. I haven't seen any emotion truly in the first two games yet. There's no swagger, there's no juice, something's missing. And I think if the Eagles can come up with some big plays early, I think that will go a long way to getting that swagger back. And I think once that swagger goes and you think, we're in this thing, we can compete, anything can happen. That's going to be the important thing against Indiana. Get off to a good start. The way I approach it from Georgia Southern, this is a brand new season. This is our first game of the season. Let's be honest. With this 2-week period off, it kind of is a new season. Let's do that. Let's put those two behind us and know that we have 10 games to go out there. We have a 10-game schedule, and every game is important, and your goals are still ahead of you. You still can win the Sun Belt Conference. You haven't lost the Sun Belt game yet. You haven't won one, but you haven't lost one. And here's one of your non-conference games coming up against Indiana. Let's be honest. It's a big dog in the FBS from a power conference. Go out there, do what you should do and what you can do. Move the ball, play Georgia Southern football, play tough on defense, and give it a go and see what happens.
Well, Frank, you've mentioned the youth on this team, and I think the lack of leadership, I don't know if you need a rah-rah or something, but you mentioned, playing kind of flat, and I was worried when you lose the kind of guys that they lost from last year and the kind of senior leaders that they lost from last year, who's going to fill those voids? And it doesn't seem like anybody has stepped up into that role at this point. Still early in the season, and things can change, but oddly enough, I believe it came up on somebody's timeline from, I think it was 4 years ago maybe, Jeff Monken's speech at halftime of the Navy game when they were down 13-0. And the bottom line of his speech was, you are Georgia Southern. You are supposed to win these games. You are supposed to win this game. We're better than these guys. And I think the problem with this Georgia Southern team is they are so young. We mentioned this about Statesboro earlier in the week. So things start to go bad. A lot of times they think, oh no, here we go again. And they've got to find a way to fight through some of that stuff and have some people, whether it's coaches or players, to kind of say, you guys have got to win these kind of games. You're expected to win these games. It's not okay to lose these games. Now, Indiana is a 21-point underdog, but you mentioned you got Arkansas State and you still got the Sun Belt games. There's got to be a fire or some sense of urgency pretty soon.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. And again, it's like I talked about. You're now in a 10-game season. You're starting to eliminate any chance or margin of error in there. And again, yeah, you got to go back to the roots. We're supposed to win these games. And again, we got to have some of these. I know there's not many of them. The seniors and juniors, those guys who have been in there, let's be honest, we got guys in this team who played in the bowl game, who dealt with adversity of losing your head coach and playing with an interim coach at a bowl game. And we got to have some of these guys, maybe re-educate the young guys that we're supposed to win these games. I mean, these are games that we're supposed to win and be in, especially New Hampshire. Indiana, one of those things. I mean, going into this year, let's take the first two games out of the equation. Indiana, to a lot of people, looked like a game that is a type game that Georgia Southern could go on the road and win. And again, we need to be able to win these games. If you're taking that next step, and you want to be considered, one of the top teams in the Sun Belt, you got to go in and you got to win these games. Let's be honest. Indiana is not Ohio State. They're not Oklahoma. They're not Oklahoma State. They're Indiana. While they're trending up, we should be able to go in there and compete. And again, I think if we go in there and compete, see some positives from the offense, and hopefully move forward. Again, I think you can build off that as you go into conference play, but we have to start seeing the identity. We have to start seeing the passion. We have to start seeing the fire that we haven't seen in the first two games of the season.
Yeah, Indiana, probably what you would say an okay to pretty good Big Ten team. Typically, if Georgia Southern is where they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you've got to imagine a pretty good team against a very good Sun Belt team. That margin would be a little bit closer than a 21-point. The way Vegas has it right now, I would imagine it would be probably within a touchdown. But we did have a chance to talk to Coach Summers and some of the players, and when we come back, we'll have a listen to what they have to say, and then Frank will be back after that, talk a little bit about our area high school games.
Lee Hill and Johnston Insurers. We've been Statesboro's insurance people since 1963. That's a lot of memories. Recognized as one of the leading agencies in Georgia, Lee Hill and Johnston is independent and offers a complete line of personal and business insurance for auto, life, home, and health. We'll shop companies to find the lowest premiums and best coverage for you, your family, or your business. Lee Hill and Johnston Insurers, the insurance people since 1963.
Well, you've heard from me and Frank. Now it's time to hear from head coach Tyson Summers and some of the players as the Eagles get set to head to Indiana to take on the Hoosiers.
I mean, it's opportunity. We got another chance to play on a bigger stage and to showcase our skills and our talents. And they're a pretty good team. I mean, it's a big stage. So what we do against them, it can possibly impact our season for the remainder of our season. So we just, like I said, we just got to come to work, man. It's not going to be easy. They're not going to just lay down and give us a win so we can be 1-2. They trying to win too. So we just got to come to work, and we will see what happens.
We had a little delay with the first 2 days of the bye week due to the hurricane, but the last 3 days we felt comfortable with the rest of the dress rehearsal that we had and practice that we got a chance to do. We have a couple of leaders step up. They stepped up even after the game. We always have leaders. I feel like last week had a big part, and I think it'll be a big part of our season with a lot of people stepping up and saying stuff, and we did a lot of things different.
Our biggest thing is working on the small things, minor mistakes. Those what really led us to what happened last Saturday. We had a lot of small mistakes that made big impacts in the play and throughout the game. Indiana's a great team. It'll be a good game. As far as preparation, I feel like we'll be well prepared going into this game.
The big thing, Josh, is just what, and I know we've talked about it in here before, which is, ultimately, the things that I've really got to be able to make sure are the things that I can control. And what I try to make sure I do a good job of is doing that with our players. And the message that we have to them. I believe in our football team. I believe in these young men that are playing for us, certainly. And I do. I think that we've got to go to work, and we've got to get better. And as long as we continue to work and continue to get better at what we're doing, then that's where we go. And those are the things that, as we talked about before, I can control those things. The external pieces, I don't know how much I really can.
Did you guys go back to basics? Did you just tweak things? What did you do during that past week to address what's been going on?
Well, I think we had a good 3 days of practice. We were able to get started on Wednesday, and then we went Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday last week, and tried to let, in particular, the guys who were on our travel team that had been back and forth and came back with us here, trying to let them kind of get home this past weekend. But we tried to make sure that we were going back and working on fundamentals first and foremost, and focusing on that, and trying to be able to make sure that we were really, really in all four things that we're doing, from a fundamental standpoint, a scheme standpoint, execution. Those are all the things that we're trying to get to, and if we can improve in those areas, and we'll have a better performance than what we had the other day. We don't have any excuses for what we had the other day. I'm as upset and ticked off as I can possibly be about it, and ultimately that's me. I've got to do a better job of getting our football team ready to play. We've got players that I believe in, and I know what they're capable of, and we've got to do a better job, and that's starting with me, of being able to make sure that we can get out in front of those things and put a better performance out. I think that we had a really good 3 practices. I'm proud of our guys for what they were able to do, and we were able to go, like I said earlier, get out there on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, had 3 good days, 3 good practices. I thought they worked their tail off, had good energy, and had some new things that we were putting in, really in all 3 phases, and I thought they did a really good job of being able to handle that and then go out there and trying to practice at the tempo and the type of execution that we need to.
It's at Auburn, first week of the year, will maybe help guys kind of settle down into a bigger environment, maybe not be as wide-eyed as they might have been at Jordan-Hare?
Well, the young guys, all the freshmen that we have, I think, are certainly wide-eyed whenever it came to being in that place and opening up. So I certainly think that it'll help with those guys. But, for the older guys, again, we've been in a lot of different environments and over the last 2 years, and over the course of some of these older guys, the last 3 or 4 years, I think they know what they're walking into, what kind of environment it's going to be. It's going to be a neat place to play, and we're excited about going up there and having a chance to again go prepare with a purpose, go win a football game.
Stay with us. Coming up next, we'll take a look at some of our area high school matchups with Frank Sulkowski. Family Internal Medicine Associates of Statesboro, providing primary care for Statesboro area patients since 1998, providing complete physicals, complete sports physicals, Medicare wellness exams, full diabetes treatment, and education from lifestyle changes to oral medications to insulin pump therapy. In-house dermatology, in-house circulation tests and ultrasounds, in-house lab. and introducing our new nurse practitioner, Melissa Beasley, as we now accommodate same-day or next-day appointments to serve your needs. Family Internal Medicine Associates of Statesboro, where we care.
No credit refused isn't just an offer, it's a way of business and has been for over 100 years. No banks, no ridiculous credit requirements, just local Badcock store owners who treat you right and give you credit when others won't. It's never been easier to express your style and love your home.
All right, joining me again, the big guy, WJCL Television in Savannah, Frank Sulkowski. And Frank, got a big slate of games, and this is the kind of time that Josh dreads when we have 4 teams all at home here in Bulloch County. And I don't even have Frank Sulkowski in town. He's up in Bloomington. Can't help us out. He's going to be short-staffed over there on the Frenzy, but I know you'll have plenty of games and plenty of highlights there. But we've got everybody in town playing at home. Statesboro, it's homecoming for them. They're taking on Appling County. You've got Southeast Bulloch and probably their biggest game of the season, Jenkins, coming to town. They've had some pretty tough teams that they've played up till this point, but this is the first region game for them. Then you've got Bulloch Academy taking on Robert Toombs. They're coming off a bye week. The week before that, they had a pretty easy win. And as for Portal, licking their wounds after that come-from-behind victory for Jenkins County, they've got Wheeler County coming to town, a team that Jenkins County beat pretty handedly a few weeks ago. Give us a quick rundown of your thoughts on some of these Bulloch County schools matchups here this week at home.
I just think Southeast Bulloch going to have their hands full with a very good Jenkins team, which I think and have penciled in to be region champs in that region. They have a very senior-heavy squad. Last year they went to the state playoffs, won a state playoff game, lost in the second round. I think Jenkins is going to give Southeast Bulloch all that and then some. Appling, not what we've seen out of them. They have a new coach as well, a new head coach, and so they're going through a little transition as well. This could be a good spot for Statesboro. BA, Robert Toombs, very similar. I think BA gets the edge. One for being at home, too. I've seen some of the guys they've had in their skill positions. I think that overwhelms Robert Toombs. And Portal, after that Jenkins County game, I really don't know what to expect. I just know they should be able to beat Wheeler County. Look for another close game. Hopefully, Portal's the one who's able to hold on and pick up the win in this one.
All right, well, Frank, we know you won't be there for the Frenzy, but you got Rick Snow, you got Dave Williams, and a host of others there to be able to put a nice show together for you Friday, and then we'll look forward to seeing your reports from up in Bloomington as Georgia Southern takes on Indiana.
Yeah, we'll take flight with the Eagles on Friday and head up to Indiana. Again, the first ever meeting between Indiana and Georgia Southern. It's going to be interesting to get into a new stadium, see a team I've never had a chance to cover, go to a state I've never been to Indiana. So again, I'm looking forward, and go ahead and give the warning to some of the fine restaurants there in Bloomington. I'm coming for you Friday night.
All right, Frank Sulkowski joining us. Stay with us. Coming up next, we'll hear from our area coaches as they get ready for their big matchups on Friday.
Center Pharmacy on Grenade Street is proud to be your Health Mart pharmacy in Statesboro. The Medical Center Pharmacy, locally owned and serving this community for 50 years, is open 364 days a year. The pharmacists at Medical Center know there's nothing more important than your family's well-being. That's why they take the time to know their customers, explain their medications, and answer any questions. The Medical Center Pharmacy, your Health Mart pharmacy.
Health Mart, caring for you and about you.
We've heard me and Frank talk about it. Now it's time to hear from the coaches. We've got them all coming up right now from Bulloch Academy, Statesboro, and Southeast Bulloch.
We're healthy. That's the biggest thing. You know, we're going into this week a lot healthier than we were this time last year when we were pretty beat up. The bye week got a little messed up because of the hurricane, but at least we didn't have to play on Friday night. And, I feel like we're in good spirits and in good position right now.
You have Robert Toombs coming up. How do you guys shape up against them?
They're very, very athletic, and I'd compare them to Memorial, but I think they have more weapons. Their quarterback is a tremendous athlete who can take the ball the distance every play. Their running backs are very good and very strong, and we're just hoping we can win the lines of scrimmage and maybe pound out one here this week.
Your team's going to respond how you allow them to respond, so were we disappointed Friday? Absolutely disappointed. We're still in that mode a little bit. The kids, when something bad happened late in the game, we panicked a little bit and maybe started disbelieving, if that's a word, a little bit more, and we just didn't finish. We panicked a little bit, but it's been strange. You're looking at 3 games and 1,200 yards of total offense and averaging 32 points a game, and we can't find a way to finish. Everybody wants to point the finger at the defense. Our defense is playing well at times. We just got to put 4 quarters together.
We've got Appleton County coming in, which on paper you guys match up pretty well with.
Yeah, record-wise we do. Appleton is typical Appleton in terms of their team speed. I've had the opportunity to play Appleton every year for the last 11 years, and their team speed will match anyone's. So I think there's some youth there, like there is in our case as well, playing some kids that might not quite be ready for varsity football, much like we do. But I think it's going to be a good game, a good matchup. All we can control is ourselves and our preparation, and continue to eliminate mistakes. We got better in the penalty category than we were the previous 2 games. We just need to keep playing hard and need a break to go our way instead of against us like it's been being.
Jenkins, from what I understand and seen, they are a very senior-dominated team. Many of these players are already playing as freshmen, and so they've got a lot of experience there. They have a number of athletes who are highly recruited, and one being a big-time receiver, about 6'3", and the quarterback and he have been playing for 4 years together. And defensively, they are stout up front, do a lot of games and sending people. It's imperative that we establish and move the change, Josh. We have to move the change. We are very methodical in moving the football, and so therefore we've got to use that clock, get first downs, keep our defense off the field. And that's part of the way that we're going to have some success. And then number 2 is we got to have some breaks go our way. And when I say that, we have to create them. It's important that we make use of our special teams and take advantage of those when given opportunity. And we got to play a very, very, very clean game and max out our efforts. If we do, we'll compete well and give ourselves a chance.
And a reminder, the Portal Panthers also in action as they're hosting Wheeler County, Bulloch Academy hosting Robert Toombs, Statesboro hosting Appling for homecoming, and Southeast Bulloch playing host to Jenkins High School from Savannah. All right, stay with us. Coming up next, the moment y'all have been waiting for, Jennifer Lee Hirsch here to give us her pick 6.
To stay ahead, a parent has to really be on the go and stop for school, stop for sports, stop for an intervention. But you don't have to stop for banking. To stay ahead with mobile online banking, bank ahead with Queensboro National Bank and Trust.
See Jeremy Reagan and the staff at Queensboro National Bank and Trust, South Main Street in Statesboro.
Hey, Miss Thompson, everything's fine. It's going to be no problem. I'll have you done in a few minutes.
My name is Paisley Nordhoff, part owner of Complete Car Care, and I want you to come see me.
All right, it's that time once again everyone's waiting for. Jen's pick 6 right now. Josh screwed up last week. 2 games that I had on the schedule got postponed, so we only had 4. Jennifer was 2-2. Josh was 3-1. We're right now tied, but Jennifer's about ready to pull ahead. She doesn't like the Tide. So we start off with Jordan.
It's not a matter of liking the Tide. I just think, my fans keep asking me what I did last week. Well, I told them, and they were so bummed.
All right, well, this is the week you come back. You got Indiana giving 23 points to the Georgia Southern Eagles. They're struggling. What do you say this week?
If I am correct, I think Georgia Southern is home this
Nope,
week?
not this one.
They're on the road, right?
They got one more, and then
so
they're home.
I'm going to go with Georgia Southern, even though they screwed up for me. Hello, Georgia Southern Eagles, wake up. Fans, help me.
Indiana's a tough place to play. I'm going to take the Hoosiers to cover the 23 there. All right, Georgia Tech giving 7 to Pittsburgh. Oh, Paul Johnson, former coach. What do you think?
Paul Johnson. I am going to go with Georgia Tech.
I'm with you too. Got Georgia Tech. Next up is your Georgia Bulldogs, coming off a win against old Chris Hatcher, who was at Georgia Southern. This week they got Mississippi State. They're giving 7 points. How do you like that one?
Well, you know, I was sitting there thinking about yesterday as I was doing my picks. And I decided to go with my Bulldogs this week.
All right. A couple of young quarterbacks going in this one. I'm taking Mississippi State to cover the 7. Georgia may win the game. Alabama taking on my old Vanderbilt Commodores, giving 18 points. Who you like, Jen?
You know what? For my fans out there,
yeah,
they've been sending me emails through different stuff, you know, Josh, and I will take Alabama this week.
You're rolling Tide, huh? I don't know, Jen. I don't know. I'm going to see the Vanderbilt Commodores pulling off not the upset, but the upset in the point spread. That one smells. It should be more than
in your dreams.
Tulane, former Georgia Southern head coach Willie Fritz. Army, former Georgia Southern head coach Jeff Monken. Who you got Tulane's giving Army for?
Well, you know, as I like my coaches, you know, well, Jeff Monken was the sweetest one ever. And he came up to me when he was here, and he would always make a point after practice coming up to me saying, what a good job you're doing.
All right.
So we're going to go with Army this week.
I'm with you here. I think I'm going to go with Army as well. And the final one, Jennifer, well, I was going to do a college, but I thought I'd put your Atlanta Falcons on here, give you a chance. They're rocking and rolling. Atlanta -4 at Detroit. Matt Stafford used to play for Georgia. Who you like?
Well, I like
drum roll.
Atlanta Falcons.
I'm going with you. The Falcons giving 4 at Detroit. Think they're going to roll. All right, that'll do it for this week. Oh, before we go, your sponsor once again?
Lee Hill & Johnson.
And we also have the Georgia Southern Bookstore if you want to get a nice Adrian Peterson momentum. They got all kinds of number 3 stuff. We got some GATA stuff there. We've got plenty of Georgia Southern merchandise, shirts. We got hats. Go visit the University store on campus at Georgia Southern. Thank you all for joining us. See you again next week.